Although we've already opened up our meeting, and I'd like to give our ROTC a chance to present.
Color guard, attention, forward, move. More time, move. Color guard, pose. Left, pace. Please recite after me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Present on. Order on. Right pace. Forward march. Color guard, hold. Order, colors. Hold on.
Thank you very much. We have comments from the public on resolutions. Take your time.
Hi, good evening. Jill Hall, Whitewood Road. I know that you can't answer the questions and it's only comments, but I had a couple of questions that I hope that maybe somebody can get back to me with regarding F23. It's some services that are going to be provided for mental health from outside providers, and I'm just looking for some clarification as to whether that will be specific to special education population, how students will be referred to that program, and whether this company will be able to do our risk assessments for our students in-house. So I appreciate if somebody could kind of track that down for me.
And I'll get back to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we'll have approval of our minutes. May I have a motion to approve the following minutes? September 12, 2023 work session, September 12, 2023 executive session, September 19th, 2023 regular meeting, September 19th, 2023 executive session.
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Carbonell? Yes. Mr. O'Shea?
Yes for 1 and 2, and abstain on 3 and 4.
Mrs. Regis Darby? Yes. Mrs. Scott Heeden?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. McKenzie?
Yes. Okay, the various communications will be moved on our personnel agenda, and next we have the superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Madam President. So tonight, we'll be highlighting a cadet. We'll be going through, just talk about how back to school night was. This week coming up is School Violence Awareness Week, something of collaborating with the community, closeout of our National Hispanic Heritage Month. We had our ribbon cutting, I'll highlight that, and then a HIB report, and something to come for the future. And then, of course, our student liaison, one is here tonight, Nisa Phyllis, Gia Patel with us. So before I recognize one of the cadets, Madam President, if you could join me. Mr. Zeezer, if you could come up, Ms. Bossert. Ms. Bossert's our high school principal. Mr. Zeezer's athletic director. He does oversee the JRTC. And then Sergeant Schemmel, if you could come up. I could sit up here and you know, share what Sergeant Schemmel shared with me and Ms. Bossert and Mr. Zeezer. Sergeant Schemmel and Colonel Alvarado are the ones that work with our junior ROTC every day, night, weekends. I saw a list of events. They help us out. They help the community out at many different town events, just like what they did today, presenting the colors. It's something that no matter when it is, where it is, I still get goosebumps seeing the young ladies and men, always hold themselves to the utmost example of what our students should be. And, Sergeant Schemmel and Colonel Torres do an amazing job. So I would like you to just share a little bit about what one of your cadets.
Roger. Yeah, no problem. I got a little reading. Get my glasses here. All right, so Rhiannon Matherin's getting the Legion of Valor Bronze Cross. Union High School cadet Rhiannon Matherin was awarded the Legion of Valor Bronze Cross by the United States Army. This award is sponsored by the Legion of Valor, an organization whose membership is limited to those who have either been awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor or the Distinguished Service Cross. Those are the two highest awards you can get, and you can only get them in combat for valor. The Legion of Valor Bronze Cross is awarded for academic excellence, community service, and superior leadership. Each year, only 75 out of 314,000 JRDC cadets earn this prestigious award. Cadet Matherin is in her 4th year of JRDC. She serves as an executive officer for our nationally acclaimed Union High School Army JRDC Battalion. The executive officer is the second highest ranking person in the battalion. She's a member of the drill team, which has won the New Jersey State Drill Championships for 24 years in a row. Cadet Matherin has completed over 150 hours of community service hours. She possesses a 3.8 GPA. Cadet Matherin is the first Union High School cadet to receive the Legion of Valor Bronze Cross. Give her a hand, please.
Come on up. And I know we wanted to recognize you. I know you received your awards already, but I think it's important that everyone sees not just what an excellent junior ROTC member she is, but the GPA is something everyone should really be acknowledging to be able to, congratulations, all the hours they put in and time away to find that time to keep that GPA as a 3.8 is amazing. All the years I've coached, I always fought for more academic All-Americans. They always wanted to highlight who were the best who the best were at the sports. But when I see I have an athlete that is a phenomenal academic classroom athlete as well, it just means so much more to me. So congratulations. Thank you again. Congratulations. Sergeant Schemmel, as always, thank you for everything you do for our students. So I was actually amazed when I saw our numbers. I always like to try to figure out how many people do attend back to school night open house. And now this is total amount of people. It's not just, obviously, anyone that walked through the door, we count our schools. So if you just reflect, it's over 5,000 of our community members, our parents. I'm sure there was other community members that came that night as well. I think it's just a great thing to see that many people attending. I think we've always said it's very important for families to be engaged, and this is one of the times that they come back and hear more about what the year's going to be like. So I'm very thankful for that. This week coming up is School Violence Awareness Week from the 16th to the 20th, and I just highlighted some of the things that the administrators and the schools shared with me that they will be doing, different types of programs. This is only a glimpse of what will be going on this week, which again, I think it's such a great topic that we bring to our schools. Again, just to, I don't like to say I stand for I don't want to tolerate any physical violence in our schools. I think this year we've gotten off to a great start. There has been some students, obviously, that got into physical altercations, but we keep working on, I know there's Ms. Hall's in here, and I'll highlight her, but on the counseling side, the school counseling side, and how to deal with that conflict resolution skills, giving the students skills to then navigate through those situations. So I just wanted to highlight that. This year, the mayor's 5K that we just had was the largest number of participants. Mr. Arminio came in third out of his class. That was awesome. But there was a lot of people that participated, and I just wanted to highlight the part of the proceeds went to 2 of our Washington students. The Washington students were part of our board meeting last year. They're still fighting, battling the medical conditions that they are dealing with. And I was so impressed on how many faculty members showed up to support the students in that school that were the Chamber of Commerce, was allocating a portion, I believe, of the proceeds to their cause. So I just wanted to thank the Chamber of Commerce, the town officials, Mayor Figueredo, Senator Cryan, and the Washington school staff, and the Tufts community for it's such a great event every year. Just to recap some of the things that went on during National Hispanic Heritage Month that was just ended, October 15th from September 15th. I'm not going to read through all of them, but there was performances, projects, resources, and also community outreach. And I think that the biggest thing with this is learning from each other is such an important part of education. So when we do things like this, I think it benefits all our children and elevates the level of teaching and engagement. Just the other night, Friday, we had a ribbon ceremony for the football field and track. And again, it's just a thank you to the town. We keep growing our relationship, and they supported us financially in putting in this new, beautiful, state-of-the-art turf as well as track. It was a great night. And it's not our first game, but we had the ribbon cutting because the track was now officially finished. So as everyone knows, I do have to report on our harassment, intimidation, bullying. So for the period of October 11th to October 17th, the cases that were reported, 5 were founded, 1 was not founded, 1 was inconclusive, and then the affirmed ones, which the board is voting on tonight, from September to October 10th, it was 5 founded and 4 inconclusive. And here you see a breakdown of the reported ones. 2 were at Connecticut Farms founded, 1 was at Kawami founded, and 1 was inconclusive. And then 2 was at the high school founded, 1 unfounded. So next I would like to pass the microphone. Are you staying there? Nisa, and I've got your presentation up.
Good afternoon. Board of Education 2023-2024, Nisa Filius. Sports, high school. The Union High School varsity boys soccer team will play in the Union County Championship against Elizabeth on Saturday night at 7 p.m. at Johnson High School in Clark. Union defeated Scotch Plains in the semifinals this past Sunday 2-1. This record is currently 8-1-2, and they play Thursday at the Union High School Memorial Field at 6:30 p.m. for senior night. The football team plays away this Friday at Ridge High School at 7 p.m. They should have a home playoff game the following week on Friday, October 27th. The girls' soccer team, their senior night against Dayton of Springfield on October 23rd at 6 p.m. This team this past weekend participated in the breast cancer walk in honor of Jane McCurney, Coach Smith's mother, who beat cancer on October 26, 2022. UHS field hockey's next game is 4 p.m. this Friday. UHS cross country has individual comes in first at the conference meet, Sean Casey for the boys and Cassidy Kidd for the girls. Union high school wrestlers and baseball players have volunteered at the Mayor's 5K last week. They handed out water and directed runners during the race. Middle school. The middle school athletic teams are in full swing. The boys' school soccer is currently undefeated at 9-0. The girls' middle school soccer team is 6-0-1. The middle school football team is 3-0-1. And Union South Volleyball is 3-2, and Union North Volleyball is 5-0. This was JROTC's first battalion formation. And NHS so far, which is National Honor Society, we're running a successful peer ambassador tutoring program out of Ms. Polaski's room, restorative pastor's room, and A113A during the lunch period. We also have volunteered at the PTA clothing drive, ice cream social, and Washington Elementary School math night. Coming up, we are selling pink ribbons for Breast Cancer Week next week to raise funds for Susan G. Komen.
Thank you, Naisa. And lastly, before I close, I just want to let everyone know tomorrow night is our college night. The cafeterias in the back of the school will be packed. Anyone spread the word. It's a great event for any child to start talking to the colleges. So, Madam President, that will officially conclude my report.
Thank you, Dr. Benacrista. Next, we will have Education and Student Discipline, Ms. Carbonell.
Before I begin, I just want to give a shout out to Cadet Rihanna Matthews and her peers. That was extremely impressive. It's been a long day. They say a society that educates children and do not develop their moral compass are creating individuals that destroy. And tonight, we saw exactly the contrary. And to me, it's even more honorable in the times that we're living in, that these youngsters, who at their age, I had no idea what I wanted to be, have decided already that they plan not only to rise to academic heights, but also contribute to our society in protecting our American way of life. It was just commendable, so a shout out to all of them. Now to the resolution. Upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Education Student Discipline Committee presents the following resolutions for the board's consideration. E1, the item reported on October 10th during the work session. E1A, affirm students' determination of HIB. E11, Superintendent's Report of HIB. E2, approve School Nursing Services Plan. E3, approve virtual instruction for the 2023-24 school year. E4, approve NED's Mindset Mission Assembly at Washington Elementary School. And E5, proclaim October as International Alpha Delta Kappa Month.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? May I have a roll call?
Mrs. Brins Watson? Yes. Ms. Carbonell?
Yes.
Mr. O'Shea?
Yes.
Mrs. Regis Darby?
No, on E3, yes to everything else.
Mrs. Scott Hayden?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. McKenzie?
Yes. Next, we have Fiscal and Planning, Mr. O'Shea.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, since we're moving into time and they've been very patient, waiting for it to take effect, I'd like to do the resolutions at one vote.
Can you turn your mic on?
What's that?
Can you turn your mic on?
Why thought I couldn't put it on because they have my name over it?
No. There you
Oh,
go.
that's better.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Fiscal and Planning Committee presents the following resolutions for the board's consideration. F1 through F24. F25 is for information only, and there's no need of a vote.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? May I have a roll call?
Mrs. Bryn Swanson.
Yes.
Ms. Carbonell.
Yes.
Mr. O'Shea.
Yes.
Mrs. Regis Darby.
Yes to everything except F-22, because I have some of the same questions that members of the public had.
Mrs. Scott Heeden.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Ms. McKenzie.
Yes. Mr. O'Shea, would you do operations too?
I apologize, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Could you handle operations for us as well?
Surely. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Operations Committee presents the following resolutions for the board's consideration. 01 through 04.
Is there a second? Any discussion? May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Bryn Swanson.
Yes.
Ms. Carbonell.
Yes.
Mr. O'Shea.
Yes.
Mrs. Regis Darby.
Yes.
Mrs. Scott Heeden.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Ms. McKenzie.
Yes. Personnel, Ms. Scott Heaton?
Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Personnel Committee presents the following resolution for the board's consideration. P1A and P1B was approved at the October 10th, 2023 work session. And Madam President, without objection, I would like to move the rest in block.
Absolutely.
So P1A-1 through P10.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? May I have a roll call?
Mrs. Bryn Swanson.
Yes.
Ms. Carbonell.
Yes.
Mr. O'Shea.
Yes.
Mrs. Regis Darby.
Yes.
Mrs. Scott Heeden.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Ms. McKenzie.
Yes. Next, we have policy, Mrs. Williams.
Upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the policy committee presents the following policies for the board's consideration. These are all final reading. If there are no questions or discussions, I'd like to pass them as a block.
Okay. Yeah.
We're good? Okay. Approve policy 1642-.1. Approve regulation 1642.01. Approve policy 2419, school threat assessment teams, and policy 4, approve regulation 2419, school threat assessment teams.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's
Oh,
two more.
There's more?
There's a couple of more, yeah.
Oh.
Sorry.
Policy 5, approve policy 0164, conduct of a meeting. Policy 6, approve regulation 2624, grading system.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? May I have a roll call?
Mrs. Bryn Swanson.
Yes.
Ms. Carbonell.
Yes.
Mr. O'Shea.
Yes.
Mrs. Regis Darby.
Abstain from policy 5, no to policy 6. I think that policy needs to take a look at one more time.
Mrs. Scott Heeden.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Ms. McKenzie.
Yes. May I have a motion to approve our bills?
Pay the bills.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Bryn Swanson.
Yes.
Ms. Carbonell.
Yes.
Mr. O'Shea.
Yes.
Mrs. Regis Darby.
Yes.
Mrs. Scott Heeden.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Ms. McKenzie.
Yes. Any unfinished business?
At our work session, we had a parent that came in and spoke about the GNT program. And I had a moment to kind of reflect on that, what she said to the board and to the public. And I actually took a look at the regulation, and I just want the entire community and the board to know that it is my belief that the regulation is subjective, is very, very subjective. The language is not clear, and it's misleading. And I think I said that when the regulation was first brought to the board, that the language is very, very subjective and it's not clear. And if parents, students, or even board members can't understand what the regulations and the criteria says, how do you expect any movement for kids in the GNT program if the board members and parents and students can't even understand what the regulation and the criteria are saying, because they do not add up and they do not jive together. I would recommend that the board takes a really good look at that GNT policy because it's a hot mess.
Thank you. Any other unfinished business? Yeah.
I feel silenced. In any case, so during our last board meeting, I introduced a motion to reinstate the Zoom meetings to allow for more participation from the community. We had an interesting conversation. There are feelings and thoughts on both sides of this. But I do want to thank Madam President and the rest of my fellow board members for today engaging in a conversation during our executive committee meeting. And part of the reason why we came out of that meeting so late is because we were having this conversation. We are engaged in this. We are very much looking seriously at how we can provide for different ways and opportunities for our community to participate, so that you don't feel silenced, so that you can interact with us in ways that are productive to our district and to our children. And so I just want to say thank you for engaging in that conversation.
Thank you. It was a very good conversation. It was well worth it.
Yes.
No, it's just healthy.
Any other unfinished business? New business?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to beat her to it. I just want to thank the Fraser family and their organization for putting together a really nice event Friday evening to celebrate Hispanic heritage. And I believe the funds will be used for scholarships for students. Thank you so much. I had a great time. And she left.
Yep.
Our assistant superintendent was honored that evening with a special from the
Resolution.
Union County Commissioners,
Yes.
right? So that's something also to celebrate. And also I'm glad that you are doing all those things, so thank you. But we also had Indigenous Peoples Day on the 13th, and Veterans Day is coming up. And looking at our ROTC kids, it's very nice that that's, that we invest in that in our school district. Thank you.
Ms. Williams.
So I also wanted to comment on Friday evening, the Hispanic Heritage celebration through Hope. And we have some very modest, women on this board, because in addition to Dr. Perez being honored, our very own Chastity Santana, Dixie Carbonell, and Yocasta Brins Watson were all honored as well. Cannot tell you how incredibly proud I was to sit at that table with these 4 honorees. Their work and their commitment to our children is just phenomenal, and it was really a nice night. I don't know if I can say this, but Gretel's mom was out there dancing, and it was a really great evening to celebrate with our fellow board members and their accomplishments and their commitments.
Thank you. Yeah.
I have to say something about this. Yes, the celebration on Friday, thank you to Hope, the Hispanic Organization for People's Advancement, for honoring, so many of us during that evening and giving us a platform for telling our stories, basically. It was very moving, and it was greatly appreciated. And I really want to say, I learned a couple of other things about Dr. Perez that evening. I learned that she's fluent in English, Spanish, French, and Latin. And I learned that, she studied abroad, art, and I learned that she, things about the way that she's done things. So I was really thankful to the Frasers and to Hope for recognizing her in the way in which they did. But congratulations, Dr. Cabernel and Ms. Santana, who's not here right now, in being recognized. I think we need, not personally, but we need more recognition of the talent in this district. And, as I said, I was incredibly impressed by Dr. Perez's credentials. And the second thing that I want to say is I do hope people show up tomorrow for career and college night. This is important for our children in many different ways, and they need the support of our community on those days. If we show up, they'll show up, obviously, and they'll know that we are trying to help them pursue their dreams. And so there is so much commitment from the teachers and counselors and everybody else. Let's make sure that we show up for them as well, and support them in their dreams to advance themselves career-wise and academically. Thank you.
Any other new business? I just want to remind the public that we are still very much into our superintendent search, and the survey is open up until midnight tonight. It's been open for some time now, and as of midnight tonight, it'll close. So anyone who's not had the opportunity to complete the survey, please do, because your input is welcome. And with that being said, next we will have comments from the public.
Good evening, David Arminio, 1032 Woodland Avenue. First, just a slight correction on the soccer game this weekend. It's not Saturday, it is Sunday at 5 o'clock in Clark. They changed it because of the weather. So it's Sunday in Clark, the finals of the Union County tournament. So this month in October is Socktober. The Rotary Club is collecting socks for the needy. All the socks will be going to the, there's a place in Elizabeth that all the socks will be going. And last year they collected about 2,000 plus pairs. This year they're going for at least 3,000 pairs. And the Interact Club of the high school helps participate in collecting the socks. The 4 centuries are this weekend. Every historical site in Union County is open on Saturday and Sunday. We will be open at the Caldwell House 12 to 5 on Saturday and 12 to 5 on Sunday if you want to come and learn about the history of Union. November 16th, the Union Township Historical Society is having their Hall of Fame. If you want information, you can go on the website. November 19th, Union's Got Talent is being held at Kane University, and not all of the money, but most of the money goes to scholarships for Union High School students. And that's it for this month.
Thank you.
Barbara Lamort, 449 Winthrop Road. I'd like to thank the board for asking for community input on the superintendent's search. I did respond online to that survey, and I also participated in one of the Zoom meetings. Hopefully, some of my comments are going to be incorporated into that report, but I'd like to mention a few things here. As they say, hindsight is 20/20. In 2 previous searches that were done for superintendents for our district, though the composition of the board was different, those superintendents were chosen from outside the district, partly, I believe, because they were good schmoozers. But schmoozing isn't enough. It's actual job performance that counts. Someone who gives his heart and soul to the students of the district, someone who advocates for his staff, someone who interacts with the business community, township officials, the police department, the fire department, the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, and I could go on. Someone who, using current jargon, is transparent, but I prefer old-fashioned vocabulary words. Someone who practices honesty and integrity. We have that someone right here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Darren Martin, 1163 Francine Way. Let me get straight to it. I want to thank Yocasta and Nellis for being 2 out of the 9 that voted for Zoom to come back. I don't know why anybody would not want that back. There seems to be a lack of transparency in this city, and I don't know why, but that should be something that everybody, it should be 9-0 vote. That should be easy. It's participation and transparency. That's simple. Otherwise, you're given the illusion of inclusion, acting like people are included when they're not really included. The PTA does it with no problem. Overcrowded schools. For 9 years I've been here, for 9 years I've been talking about how overcrowded the schools are. And we keep, with this township committee and others, bringing more and more people in. Growth is nice, but we need smart growth. The school is busting at the seams. At some point, this body has to talk about that as well. I know some of you guys take your marching orders from other people, but common sense has to apply at some point. Lastly, me and my group are watching very closely how some of the black administrators are being handled in this district. I thought Harrell was doing a great job at Burnett. I thought Smalls was good here. They both kind of got forced out. We're watching that very closely, and once we see that we got evidence for it, no matter who it is, senator, superintendent, township committee, they will have to answer to the black community. I've already contacted the state NAACP. I've already contacted the Department of Justice and the Attorney General's office for some of the nonsense that's already going on in this district. All black people are not for sale. Some people may be, but we're not. And I'd love to see where the union stands on this, because I see you fight for other things, but I don't see you fighting about these. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Good evening. So Atencio, 340 Willow Drive. On my last meeting here, I requested to bring to motion for Zoom services back to the Board of Ed meetings. I want to thank Ms. Yocasta, Prince Watson for making the motion, and I want to thank Ms. Ellis, Regi Service, for actually voting in for that. I want to and not want to say thank you for probably, just like Ms. Watson was saying, it's something that you guys are going to be think about it and going to probably, it's going to be considered. I appreciate that. I appreciate to be heard and taken in consideration. I just want to say that with more access means more information and more involvement. The board keep asking for more involvement. So if we give accessibility, then there's going to be more involvement. This is just a reasonable accommodation, especially for family with special needs children. We vote for people who said that they would do what is necessary for a special need community. But once they're in, sometimes they just forgot their promises. I started a petition to bring back Zoom. We had over 100 signatures. This only means that the community wants and needs some services or some other platform that can provide that. Most of our school PTAs have Zoom services or another sort of platform. They're interested in community involvement, so they make it actually accessible. So we know the superintendent office has expressed they're looking into some other avenues. But as of now, we haven't heard anything back. So I'm glad you guys are actually considering, and we'll keep an eye on this so we can, we hope this is taken serious and give us the option. With regard to the high school, I went to the PTA meeting at the high school. There is over 2,300 kids in the actual school. It's super overcrowded. I have asked many times, many ways about school, the building capacity. No one has ever said the capacity. It's not actually labeled throughout the school, which to me, it's interesting, because whenever you enter into a public building, that information is actually listed, it's visual.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why I have been denied of that information. I don't know what is the reason of it. I'm just worried about, fire hazard, security for the children. My son is a senior, but I have a middle schooler coming to be a freshman year next school year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Paul Casey, Walton Avenue in Union. First, before I thank Jocasta and Nellis for their votes, I want to thank Sol. She's been beating this drum for several months and maybe more. So I want to thank you, Sol, for doing that on behalf of all of us. I haven't been as active in the past few months and even year, and I could have been had Zoom been an option. And so I know that we've said that it's going to be reconsidered, and that's great, but I really think that I hope that that's not just, well, we'll think about it and then we'll come back and it's the same thing. So I hope that we can count on some change. I also would like to just refer to the soccer team. This town comes out in droves for a great football team. We've seen that happen on different occasions. We haven't seen the community come out so much for soccer, and we've got a big game on Sunday, so I really encourage everyone to come out. And I asked Mr. Zeser this tonight if we could potentially get buses for the kids to go to the game on Sunday. I think that would be really great to support the soccer community, because it's one that's has a lot of success in Union, and I think that we could see even more success if the community gets behind them. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Good evening. Natasha Lopes, Peachtree Road in Union. I haven't been here in a while. Life tends to get in the way of certain things, which brings us back to Zoom. I don't see why it cannot be done. I don't understand why we can't try, since we had it, why can't we do it again? I'm pretty sure you have your excuses and your issues. There's parents that come home from work and have kids, and they have to cook, and they have to do things with the kids, and they can't be here, but they would really, really like to participate. And it is supposed to be involved, the community be involved, and we can't do it if we can't be here personally. And it's just something that you should really consider, since it's been brought up. I want to thank Nellis for 7 years. I think you're almost still going. And also, Yogasta, thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam President, august members of this established board. I'd like to say, first of all, Mr. O'Shea, excellent to see you again.
It's been a long time.
Been a while. And
Yeah,
again,
it's been Dr.
nice to have worked with you in the past.
Can you state your name?
My name is, Dr. Elbert Smith. I'm a current employee here in the Township of Union. I want to try to make my remarks succinct and short because I've been known to be more gregarious than I need to be. At least I've been told that. But anyway, in the event that our superintendent search is currently underway, I'd like to simply say there is a person here who's serving in that capacity right now. That person is, in my regard, one of the finest individuals I've had the opportunity and the pleasure to meet. But more than that, I've had an opportunity to see him work in the field. And what I'd like for you guys to know is that I understand that you guys are board members and you take care of board member business during board time. But oftentimes, when you're in the field, to see somebody work as hard as this individual works, that cannot be understated. So what I'm saying, point blank, is that from a palpable perspective, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say this person's name, but perhaps I'll keep it at that. I won't say the person's name, but the point is that to see the person work, the person is a servant leader, the kind of person who will work with anybody in our school system, irrespective of their station in life, irrespective of their department, irrespective of anything else. The person has the students and the employees in mind. I've seen that person work for more than 10 years now, me being here in the Township of Union Public Schools. That person is the kind of hands-on person, homegrown person that we need. Somebody that we can talk to, somebody that we can relate to, somebody who is a solutions-oriented person instead of an excuse expert. Succinctly put, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Good evening, Ann Margaret Shannon, 2591 Spruce Street Union and UTA President. Just wanted to highlight a few things that the UTA is involved in. First of all, we're very happy for many years, and again this year, to be a gold sponsor of the Mayor's 5K. This is the third year of our elementary basketball instructional program. It started in September. It's awesome. You guys should come out to Burnett to see it, but this Friday will be Kwame because of a dance. But we did add 5th grade for this year, so it's 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. We're very happy that we're growing. Unfortunately, the rain might stop the trick-or-treat at Jefferson, or trunk-or-treat, excuse me, but UTA is a sponsor of that trunk-or-treat and also the police department trunk-or-treat on the 29th. So if we get rained out on the 21st, I meant to bring the bag up to show all the kids on the TV watching Channel 34. We have a new bag for all the kids that come to the trunk-or-treat. The parsonage, we also work with the parsonage, and David already mentioned the 4 Centuries weekend. I don't know if most people know the parsonage just exists on donations, so the UTA does, anybody who does come to the event on these 2 weekends, we will be donating a mission fee for all of them and give them a little go-away present. So please really encourage your neighbors to go to the parsonage and see what the museum's all about. And I think that's it. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, well, may I have a motion to adjourn? May I have a second? May I have a roll call?
Mrs. Brins Watson?
Yes.
Ms. Carbonell? Yes. Mr. O'Shea?
Yes.
Mrs. Bruce Starby? Yes. Mrs. Scott Heeden? Yes. Mrs. Williams? Yes. Ms. McKenzie?
Yes. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Listen.
Watson?
Yes.
Ms. Carbonell? Yes. Mr. O'Shea?
Yes.
Mrs. Bruce Starby? Yes. Mrs. Scott Heeden? Yes. Mrs. Williams? Yes. Ms. McKenzie?
Yes. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Listen.
Watson?
Yes.
Ms. Carbonell?
Mr. O'Shea?
Yes.
Mrs. Peter Starby? Mrs. Scott Heeden? Mrs. Williams? Yes. Ms. McKenzie?
Yes. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Listen.
Watson?
Yes.
Ms. Carbonell? Yes. Mr. O'Shea?
Yes.